3 seconds. That was how long it took for Maya Kong to place the gun on the table in front of Kong Min-sik and understand the real decision she'd just made. Not survival versus death. Control versus erasure. 6 weeks earlier, she'd been fired, divorced, and quietly erased from the career she'd spent 12 years building. Tonight, she was sitting in a private room at a Korean restaurant, interviewing for a waitress job that didn't really exist, across from the man who controlled everything in K-Town that wasn't legal. The private dining room at Baekdu smelled like wealth layered over violence, aged whiskey, imported cedar, and beneath it all, the faint metallic note of gun oil and old blood. The kind of room where decisions were made quietly and consequences were handled elsewhere. No windows. Soundproofed walls. A space designed so nothing that happened inside ever needed to be explained. Maya withdrew her hand from the Glock without a tremor. Her fingerprints were already there, warm on the grip. They had been since she'd pulled it from her purse. The weapon rested between them on the white tablecloth, absurdly stark against the linen, like an object that refused to pretend it belonged in polite company. Min-sik didn't move. He didn't need to. He was the kind of man whose stillness carried weight, 6'3" of controlled violence held in check by habit, not morality. Not gym-built, not sculpted. This was mass earned from years of breaking things that fought back. His charcoal Tom Ford suit cost more than Maya's last 3 months of rent, but it couldn't disguise the fighter beneath it. Pale scars traced his knuckles, thin white lines against golden skin. His face was sharp planes and deliberate restraint, the kind of handsome that belonged to predators who never rushed to kill. He regarded the gun the way other men regarded inconveniences. Interesting, he said at last. His English was fluent, Korean accented, each word wrapped in something dry and dangerous. Most people bring resumes to job interviews. Maya's heart slammed hard enough to bruise, but her voice stayed level. Courtroom level. The voice she'd used when juries were watching and judges were waiting for her to blink first. "You said you wanted someone who understood consequences," she replied. "This is me demonstrating that I do." The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. "The gun isn't loaded." "I know. Then why bring it?" Maya leaned forward. The silk of her blouse, one of the last pieces she owned from a life that no longer existed, shifted softly against her skin. Chanel No. 5 rose faintly, clashing with the darker scents in the room. A ghost of who she'd been. "Because I came here knowing exactly what you are," she said. "What this place is. And I sat down anyway." That earned her his full attention. Now he smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You're either very brave or very stupid, Maya King. Former assistant district attorney. Disbarred 6 weeks ago for evidence tampering. Divorced 4 weeks ago. Evicted from your Tribeca apartment 2 weeks after that." He lifted his glass, Hibiki 30-year, she noted automatically, and took his time with it. Currently sleeping on a couch in a Sunset Park sublet with a law school friend who's already regretting the favor. The information hit like a body blow. Maya didn't react. Poker nights with her father before the cancer. Years of hostile witnesses and worse men. She'd learned when silence worked harder than anger. "You missed something," she said. "Did I?" "I'm not brave. And I'm not stupid." She met his eyes without blinking. "I'm desperate. And desperate people are useful." The silence thickened. Beyond the walls, a grill sizzled. Laughter drifted faintly from the dining room. Normal people eating dinner, unaware that futures were being dismantled in the room behind them. Min-sik set his glass down. The sound of crystal on wood landed with unnatural clarity. "Tell me," he said. "What does a disgraced ADA know about waiting tables?" "Nothing," Maya answered. "And we both know that's not why I'm here." Maya's sublet in Sunset Park was exactly as depressing as it sounded. 1 bedroom in a 3-bedroom apartment she shared with Jessica Kim, her former law school study partner, and 2 rotating Craigslist randoms who never cleaned the bathroom. Her room was barely big enough for a twin bed and a rolling rack for her remaining clothes. The window looked out onto a brick wall 3 feet away. She'd moved from 900 square feet in Tribeca to 90 square feet in Brooklyn. The apartment smelled like old takeout and someone's vanilla candle. Maya locked her bedroom door and sat on the bed, still in her interview clothes. The phone box sat in her lap, white and pristine and full of promises. Her real phone, the one with 47 missed calls from her mother and 89 unread emails from former colleagues carefully distancing themselves, sat on the nightstand, dark and silent. She opened the new phone box. Inside was the iPhone, pre-activated. No account information. Completely anonymous. The kind of burner rich criminals used. There was also a note, handwritten in Korean. Welcome. Underneath, in English. Sleep well, Maya. Tomorrow, we hunt. She should be terrified. Should be calling someone, a friend, a therapist, a priest. Should be recognizing this for what it was, a descent into criminal conspiracy that would destroy whatever remained of her future. Instead, she felt alive for the first time in 6 weeks. Her real phone buzzed. Maya picked it up reflexively. Text from Jessica. Hey, are you okay? You seemed weird when you left. Job interview go badly? Maya stared at the message. Jessica didn't know about the interview. Didn't know about Maya's increasingly desperate job search, the humiliating rejections, the slow realization that she'd been blacklisted from every legitimate legal position in the city. Didn't know Maya had just accepted a job from a crime lord. She typed, interview went great. Might have found something. Tell you tomorrow. The lie came easily. Maybe too easily. She set the phone down and lay back on the bed, still fully dressed. The ceiling had water stains that looked like continents. She'd spent 6 weeks staring at those stains, cataloging all the ways her life had unraveled. Thomas Chin had taken everything from her. Her career. Her reputation. Her belief that justice existed for people who followed the rules. Tomorrow, she'd start taking it back. The new phone sat on her chest, rising and falling with her breath. Maya closed her eyes and remembered the last time she'd seen Thomas, in the courtroom, watching her disbarment hearing with an expression of carefully constructed sympathy. He'd even reached for her hand afterward, playing the concerned ex-husband for the cameras. I'm so sorry, Maya, he'd said, voice dripping with false compassion. I know this isn't who you are. Whatever happened, whatever pressure you were under, we'll get through this. She'd pulled her hand away, seen the flash of satisfaction in his eyes before he'd masked it. He'd won. Completely. Perfectly. She'd lost everything while he got promoted to her old position. Maya opened her eyes and picked up the phone again, running her thumb across the smooth glass. Tomorrow, the hunting began. She smiled in the dark, sharp and cold as a blade. The phone rang at exactly 7 a.m. Maya had been awake since 5:30, showered and dressed in her ADA armor, charcoal theory suit, white silk blouse, Louboutin heels that added 3 inches and made her feel dangerous. Her hair was pulled back in a severe bun. Minimal makeup. The version of herself that had once terrified defense attorneys. She picked up on the second ring. Maya Kong. Good morning. Minsik's voice was warm smoke. You answered. I said I would. Many people say many things. Few follow through. She heard ambient sounds in the background, traffic, voices. He was outside somewhere. There's a car waiting downstairs. Black Mercedes, license plate KM 2187. The driver's name is Gene. He'll take you to your target location. What's the job? Gene will brief you. Bring your ADA identification if you still have it. And Maya. Yes. Don't disappoint me. The line went dead. Maya looked at herself in the bathroom mirror one last time. The woman staring back looked professional. Competent. Like someone who prosecuted criminals instead of working for them. Perfect. She grabbed her bag, the Celine she'd splurged on during her last birthday, back when splurging didn't mean choosing between food and subway fare, and headed downstairs. The Mercedes was illegally parked in front of her building, hazards flashing. A man in a dark suit leaned against the hood, scrolling through his phone. He looked up as Maya approached. Jean was younger than she expected. Maybe 30, with the lean build of a dancer or a martial artist. His face was handsome in an unremarkable way, the kind of face that would disappear in a crowd, which was probably intentional. "Miss Kong." He opened the back door. "Please." The interior smelled like leather and expensive car freshener. Maya slid into the back seat. Jean closed her door with a soft click, then got behind the wheel. They pulled into morning traffic without speaking. Maya watched Brooklyn slide past her window. Bodegas and nail salons giving way to brownstones and boutiques as they crossed into Manhattan. She'd made this commute for years, back when she had a legitimate reason to be crossing the bridge at 7:30 a.m. "We're going to a building in the financial district," Jean said finally, eyes on the road. "432, Park Avenue South. It's a corporate law firm, Henderson and White." Maya knew the firm. Mid-tier, respectable. They handled corporate defense, some white-collar criminal work. "What am I doing there?" "Fourth floor, suite 402. There's a lawyer there named David Park. He's been helping the Volkov syndicate structure their money laundering operations, setting up shell corporations, offshore accounts, real estate purchases." Jean took the bridge exit smoothly. "He's also been skimming." "Not much. Just enough to think they wouldn't notice." "They noticed. They noticed. Now they want him handled." "Handled how?" Jean glanced at her in the rearview mirror. His eyes were flat. "Professional. Your ex-husband referred David Park to the Volkovs. Thomas Chin vouched for his discretion. Which means when David Park goes down, and he will go down, there will be evidence connecting him directly to Thomas Chin." Maya's pulse quickened. "What evidence?" "Email communications. Wire transfers. Recorded phone calls." Jean turned onto Broadway. "All of which you're going to obtain this morning." "How?" "David Park doesn't know he's been compromised yet. He thinks he's safe. Which means his office computers, his files, his communications, all vulnerable." Jin's voice was matter-of-fact, like he was describing grocery shopping. "You're going to walk in there as ADA Maya Kang, investigating a tip about Henderson and White's involvement in money laundering. You're going to be professional, aggressive, and just barely within legal bounds. Park will panic. He'll call your ex-husband for help. And you'll record the call. We already have his phones tapped. But we need you to push him into making the call. Into saying things that implicate Thomas Chin directly." Jean pulled up to a red light, turning to look at her. "Can you do that?" Maya thought about Thomas. About his carefully constructed sympathy. His promotions. His perfect new life built on her destroyed one. "Yes," she said. "I can do that." "Good. Because here's the part, mister. Kong didn't tell you last night." Jin's expression didn't change. "If this goes wrong, if Park gets suspicious, if you get caught, if anything connects this raid back to Mr. Kang's organization, you're on your own. No lawyers. No protection. No rescue." "I understand." "Do you? Because the ADA's office you used to work for? They'd love nothing more than to crucify you for impersonating a prosecutor. Add that to your existing charges, you're looking at real prison time." The light turned green. Jean accelerated smoothly. "So don't fuck up," he finished cheerfully. Maya's hands were steady on her lap. She'd prosecuted RICO cases. Mafia trials. She knew exactly how disposable she was to an organization like Minseek's. She also knew she didn't care anymore. "What happens after I get Park to call Thomas?" "You leave. Walk out like it's a normal failed interrogation. We'll handle the rest." "Define handle." Jean smiled. It didn't touch his eyes. "David Park will be arrested by actual authorities within 48 hours. The evidence we gather today will mysteriously find its way to the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Park will flip on Thomas Chin to reduce his sentence. Thomas Chin will be investigated, charged, and, if we're lucky, disbarred and prosecuted. Just like I was. Just like you were." Poetic, yes. The Mercedes pulled up in front of 432, Park Avenue South. A glass and steel tower, morning sun reflecting off its windows like fire. Maya had been in buildings like this hundreds of times. Had walked into defense attorneys' offices with subpoenas and search warrants and the full weight of the justice system behind her. Now she was here as a fraud, a criminal, an instrument of revenge. "You have 30 minutes, Jean said. "I'll be parked around the corner. Text when you're done." He handed her a small device that looked like a thumb drive. "Plug this into any computer in Park's office. It'll automatically copy all files and communications. Takes 90 seconds. Maya took the device. It was warm from Jin's hand. "One more thing," Jean said as she opened the door. "Mr. Kong said to tell you, welcome to the family." Maya stepped out onto the sidewalk. The city smelled like coffee and exhaust and other people's ambitions. She'd loved this smell once. Had breathed it in every morning like a promise. Now it smelled like opportunity. She walked into the building and didn't look back. The elevator ride to the 4th floor felt like ascending to an execution. Maya's reflection stared back at her from the polished steel doors, severe, professional, dangerous. The woman who'd sent drug dealers and fraudsters to prison. Not the woman who was currently committing fraud herself. The doors opened with a soft chime. Henderson and White's reception area was aggressively corporate, glass walls, modern furniture, motivational art about synergy and innovation. A young receptionist looked up from her computer with a practiced smile. "Good morning. Do you have an appointment?" Maya pulled out her old ADA identification. She'd been supposed to surrender it during her disbarment, but somehow it had gotten lost in her belongings. The photo was 2 years old, her with softer hair, softer eyes. Before she'd learned what monsters looked like. Maya Kong, Manhattan District Attorney's Office. "I need to speak with David Park." "Now." The receptionist's smile faltered. Is he expecting you?" "No." "Which is the point." Maya's voice had the clipped authority she'd perfected over 12 years. "This is an official investigation. You can either let me speak with Mr. Park voluntarily, or I can come back with a warrant and a team of federal agents. Your choice." The threat was empty. Maya had no authority, no warrant, no team. But the receptionist didn't know that. "Of course. Right away. She picked up the phone, pressed a button. "Mr. Park? There's an ADA here to see you. Says it's urgent." A pause. Maya Kong. "Yes, all okay." She hung up, smile now completely gone. "He'll see you." Down the hall, 3rd door on the left. Maya didn't thank her. She walked down the hallway like she owned it, heels clicking on marble tile. Door 3 was half open. She could hear someone inside, fast typing, then a muttered curse. She knocked once and entered without waiting for permission. David Park sat behind a glass desk covered in papers. He was 40-something, balding, with the soft body of someone who'd spent 20 years behind a desk. His suit was expensive but rumpled. Coffee stains on his sleeve. He looked up as Maya entered, and she saw the fear flicker across his face before he masked it with confusion. "ADA Khan? I don't understand. I wasn't notified about any investigation." "That's because this is preliminary." Maya closed the door behind her with a soft click. The sound made Park flinch. "I'm following up on a tip regarding this firm's involvement with structured financial transactions that may constitute money laundering. Henderson and White is a reputable firm." "I'm sure it is. Which is why I'm here informally, giving you a chance to cooperate before this becomes official." She sat down without being invited. "Tell me about your relationship with Dmitry Volkov." Park's face went white. "I don't know what you're talking about." "No? Because I have documentation suggesting you've structured at least 40 shell corporations for Volkov-associated businesses in the last 18 months. Real estate holdings. Import-export companies. Consulting firms that never actually consult." Maya leaned forward. "That's a lot of paperwork for someone you don't know." "I want my lawyer." "You're a lawyer, David. And right now, you're not under arrest. We're just talking." Her smile was razor-sharp. "But if you'd prefer to make this official, I can arrange that." I'm sure the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit would love to have this conversation instead. Park's hands were shaking. He clasped them together on his desk, trying to hide it. What do you want? I want to know who referred you to Volkov. How the relationship started. How deep it goes. Maya pulled out a notepad, pure theater, and clicked her pen. Start talking and maybe this stays between us. Stay silent, and I'll bury you so deep you'll forget what sunlight looks like. The threat hung in the air between them. Park swallowed hard. If I cooperate, immunity? Depends what you give me. But I'm more interested in the people above you than the paperwork guy. Which was true in a way. Maya was very interested in the people above him. Specifically Thomas Chin. I need to make a call, Park said. To who? Someone who can verify what I should do here. Your handler? Your contact. Maya tilted her head. The person who brought you into this? Park said nothing. Make your call. But make it quick. My patience isn't infinite. He picked up his cell phone with trembling hands. Maya watched him dial, tracking every movement. This was it. This was the moment Jean had set up. The call that would connect Thomas Chin to the Volkov syndicate through David Park's panicked confession. The phone rang on speaker. Once. Twice. Then, David? What's wrong? Thomas Chen's voice. Smooth, confident. The voice that had whispered love to her in the dark. That had promised forever. That had destroyed her without hesitation. Maya's jaw tightened, but she kept her expression neutral. Tom, I've got a problem. There's an ADA here, Maya Kang, asking about the Volkov work. Silence on the other end. Then, Maya's there? In your office. Yes. She says she has documentation. She's asking about shell corporations, about how I got connected to. Park cut himself off, eyes darting to Maya. Put her on, Thomas said. Park held out the phone. Maya took it, bringing it to her ear and clicking off speaker. Hello, Thomas. Maya. His voice was tight now. Controlled. What are you doing? My job. Or is investigating corruption suddenly off limits? You don't have a job anymore. You were disbarred. Funny thing about that. The disbarment hearing was based on evidence that started looking questionable. Convenient evidence. Evidence that appeared right when I started investigating Volkov connections in the DA's office. She paused. Connections like yours. I don't know what you think you're doing. I'm doing what I always did. Following the evidence. And right now, the evidence is pointing at you. Her voice dropped. How much did they pay you, Tom? To frame me? To take my life? You're having a breakdown. This is Maya, you need help. I need justice. There's a difference. She looked at David Park, who was watching her with terrified eyes. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to investigate this thoroughly. Legally. By the book. And if that investigation happens to reveal that you've been on the Volkov payroll for years, well, that's just good police work. You can't prove anything. Can't I? Because David here looks pretty eager to cooperate. And once one person flips, it's amazing how fast everyone else follows. Her smile was cold. Sleep well, Thomas. I'll be seeing you soon. She ended the call and handed the phone back to Park. Here's what happens next, Maya said, standing. You're going to give me everything you have on Thomas Chin. Every email. Every wire transfer. Every communication that connects him to Volkov. In exchange, I'll recommend immunity. You can't. I can't guarantee it. But I can recommend it. And right now, recommendations are better than the alternative. She leaned over his desk. You have 48 hours. After that, I come back with warrants and federal agents and a very detailed interest in your financials. Park nodded frantically. Okay. I'll get you everything. Smart man. Maya walked to the door, then paused. This was the part Jean had briefed her on. The part that required theft, not just intimidation. One more thing. I need to verify your computer logs. Make sure you haven't been deleting evidence. She pulled the thumb drive from her pocket. This won't take long. I haven't deleted anything, I swear. Then you have nothing to worry about. She moved his computer before he could protest. May I? Park nodded miserably. Maya plugged in the drive. The device was sophisticated. She watched the screen as it worked, progress bar ticking up as it copied files. Email archives. Financial records. Client communications. Everything David Park had ever typed on this computer, now being duplicated and transferred to Minseek's servers. 90 seconds. Jean had said 90 seconds. Maya counted silently, maintaining her position between Park and his computer screen. At 87 seconds, the progress bar hit 100%. She unplugged the drive smoothly, pocketing it. Everything looks current. Good. She headed for the door again. 48 hours, David. Don't make me come looking for you. Then she was in the hallway, walking fast, but not running. Into the elevator. Down to the lobby. Out onto the street where the morning had turned sunny and bright and full of people who had no idea what she'd just done. Maya pulled out the burner phone and texted Jean, "Done." The response came immediately. Cars around the corner. West Side. She walked 3 blocks before her hands started shaking. The Mercedes was idling in a loading zone, Jean behind the wheel scrolling through his phone. He looked up as Maya approached, reading something in her expression. "You got it." Maya handed him the thumb drive without speaking. Her hands had stopped shaking, but something cold had settled in her chest. The feeling of crossing a line she could never uncross. Jean pocketed the drive and pulled into traffic. "Mr. Kang wants to see you," he said. Now. They drove north, away from the financial district and into K-Town. The neighborhood smelled like barbecue and kimchi, sounds of Korean pop music drifting from open restaurant doors. This was Minseek's territory, blocks of businesses that paid protection money, restaurants that laundered cash, karaoke bars that served as fronts for gambling operations. Maya had prosecuted cases here, had put away gang members and money launderers. Now she was working for them. Jean pulled into an underground garage beneath Baekdu. The restaurant looked different in daylight, less ominous, more ordinary. Just another Korean barbecue place in a neighborhood full of them. 4th floor, Jean said. Private elevator in the back. Maya got out. Her legs felt distant, like they belonged to someone else. She'd committed fraud. Evidence tampering. Unauthorized use of law enforcement credentials. Every crime she'd spent her career prosecuting. And she'd do it again without hesitation. The private elevator required a keycard. Jean swiped his and pressed the button for the 4th floor. The doors closed with a soft chime, sealing Maya in mirrored steel. She looked at her reflection, still professional, still composed, still lying about who she was. The elevator opened directly into an apartment. Not an office. An actual living space. Minseek's penthouse was minimalist and expensive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking K-Town. Dark hardwood floors. Modern furniture that probably cost more than Maya's legal education. Art on the walls, actual art, not prints. A Basquiat that might be real. Korean calligraphy that definitely was. This was power. Understated, controlled, absolute. Minseek stood by the windows, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Korean. He glanced at Maya and held up one finger. Wait. She waited. The space smelled like coffee and his cologne. Sandalwood and something darker. There was a gun on the coffee table, just sitting there, casual as a TV remote. A Sig Sauer P226. Professional weapon. The kind of gun you used when you meant it. Minseek finished his call and turned to face her fully. He'd changed since last night, jeans now, expensive but casual, and a black Henley that showed off his build. More human. More dangerous. How did it go? He asked. I got everything. Park will flip. Thomas will panic. Maya's voice was steady. It worked. Of course it worked. I wouldn't have sent you otherwise. He moved to the coffee table, picking up a tablet. Jean already uploaded the files. We're analyzing them now. But I wanted to hear from you. How do you feel? The question surprised her. Does it matter? It matters if you're going to work for me. I need to know if you'll break. His eyes catalogued her. So, how do you feel? Maya considered lying. Considered giving him the tough, unaffected response he probably expected. Instead, she told the truth. Alive. For the first time in 6 weeks, I feel alive. His smile was slow and approving. Good. Because we're not done. Sit. Maya sat on the leather couch. It was obscenely comfortable, the kind of furniture that made you want to sink in and never leave. Minsik sat across from her, the coffee table and its casual firearm between them. David Park made several interesting calls after you left, Minsik said, pulling up something on the tablet. Thomas Chin, obviously. But also his supervisor at the DA's office. And a lawyer named Sarah Mitchell. Maya's stomach dropped. Sarah was my mentor. She recruited me to the DA's office. I know. She also took over your caseload after you were disbarred. He turned the tablet toward her. She's been closing out cases. Quietly. The ones you were investigating that got too close to Volkov operations. The screen showed a list of case files. Maya recognized every one, cases she'd spent months building, witnesses she'd carefully cultivated, evidence chains she'd constructed with meticulous care. All dismissed or pled down to nothing. Sarah wouldn't, she's one of the good ones. There are no good ones, Maya. That's the lesson. Minsik's voice was matter-of-fact, almost gentle. The system you believed in? It's run by people like Thomas Chin and Sarah Mitchell. People who take money to look the other way. Who sacrifice their juniors to protect themselves. Who convinced you that following the rules would lead to justice. Maya stared at the list of destroyed cases. Her cases. Her work. I trusted her, she whispered. I know. And she sold you out the moment it became convenient. He took the tablet back. Sarah Mitchell has been on the Volkov payroll for 6 years. Thomas Chin for 3. They used you as their cover, the idealistic ADA who was so busy building cases that she never noticed her colleagues were sabotaging them. The cold in Maya's chest spread outward, numbing. How much? She asked. Excuse me. How much did she get paid to destroy me? Minsik consulted the tablet. $200,000, spread across 18 months. Deposited into an offshore account under her daughter's name. He paused. Your betrayal funded Emily Mitchell's college education. Maya laughed. The sound was broken and sharp. She'd attended Emily's high school graduation. Had given her a gift card and career advice. Had told her that if she ever wanted to go into law, Maya would write her a recommendation letter. What do you want me to do? Maya asked quietly. I want you to destroy her. Just like you're destroying Thomas Chin. Methodically. Professionally. Using everything you know about how the system works. Minsik leaned forward. And when we're done, when everyone who betrayed you has lost everything they have, I want you to tell me if it was worth it. It'll be worth it. Will it? Because once we cross this line, there's no going back. You'll have burned every bridge to your old life. Every friendship. Every possibility of redemption. His eyes were dark and steady. You'll belong to this world. To me. Completely. Maya thought about Sarah Mitchell. About Thomas Chin. About every person she'd trusted who'd chosen money over loyalty. About the system she devoted her life to that had chewed her up and spit her out without hesitation. There's nothing to go back to, she said. Let's burn it all down. Minsik's smile was beautiful and terrible. Then welcome to your new life, Maya Kong. He stood, offering his hand. Let's make you a monster. Maya took his hand. His grip was warm and strong and absolutely certain. She didn't let go. The next 3 weeks were a masterclass in organized crime. Minsik's operation was sophisticated, nothing like the street-level gangs Maya had prosecuted. This was corporate criminality dressed in expensive suits. Money laundering through legitimate businesses. Political influence bought with careful donations. Violence applied surgically, never excessive. Maya learned it all. She learned that the K-Town restaurant empire, Baekdu, and a dozen others, processed $3 million a month in protection money and gambling proceeds. She learned how to structure cash deposits to avoid reporting requirements. How to create shell companies that existed only on paper. How to move money through international accounts faster than federal agents could track it. She learned that Minseek owned the local police precinct captain, 2 city council members, and a federal judge. She learned that justice was expensive and corruption was efficient. "You're a natural," Minseek said one evening. They were in his penthouse, going over financial records. Maya had just identified a gap in their money laundering chain, a vulnerability that could expose the entire operation. "I was trained to find these," Maya said, pointing at the screen. "Prosecuting financial crimes teaches you how they work. And now you're using that knowledge to commit them." He seemed amused. "How does it feel?" "Honest." The word surprised her, but it was true. More honest than pretending the DA's office wasn't corrupt. He poured her a whiskey, Hibiki 30, the same expensive brand from their first meeting. The glass was heavy crystal, the liquid gold in the lamplight. "Tell me about your father," Minseek said. Maya blinked at the subject change. "What?" "Your father. The one who taught you to shoot. Who gave you that gun?" He settled into the chair across from her, his own whiskey in hand. "Who is he? Why does it matter?" "Because I want to know what made you. The parts that existed before Thomas Chin. Before the DA's office. Before all of this." His expression was genuinely curious. Who was Maya Kong before the world tried to break her? No one had asked her that in years. Maybe ever. "My father was a cop," Maya said slowly. "NYPD. 23 years. He was complicated. He believed in justice, but didn't trust the system." "Does that make sense?" "Perfect sense. He used to tell me stories about the cases he worked. The ones where everyone knew who the killer was but couldn't prove it. Or could prove it but couldn't get a conviction because the suspect had better lawyers. He'd say, 'Maya, the law and justice are different things. Don't confuse them.'" She sipped the whiskey. It burned smooth and warm. "I spent my whole career trying to prove him wrong. And he was right. The law is just rules. Justice is something else entirely." Minseek was quiet for a long moment, studying her. "My father was killed when I was 17, he said finally. By a competitor. A territorial dispute over 3 blocks in K-Town. The man who killed him, Lee Sang-woo, he was never prosecuted. The police said insufficient evidence. But everyone knew. Everyone saw. What happened to him? I killed him. 5 years later, when I was strong enough. When I'd built enough power that the consequences didn't matter." His voice was matter-of-fact. "I killed him in his own restaurant, in front of his family. Just like he'd killed my father." Maya should be horrified. Should be recognizing the confession for what it was, murder, premeditated and cold. Instead, she understood. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Never. He deserved it. And his death sent a message, you don't touch the Kang family." Minseek's eyes were distant, remembering. "My father used to say something similar to yours. The strong take what they want. The weak pretend there are rules. Is that what you believe?" "I believe the world is violent and the only choice is whether you're the predator or the prey." He leaned forward. "You were prey for 6 weeks, Maya. How did it feel?" "Like dying." "And now?" "Like waking up." He smiled. "Good. Because tomorrow we're going hunting." "For who?" "Sarah Mitchell. Your mentor. The woman who sold you out." He set down his glass. "It's time to make her pay." Sarah Mitchell lived in a brownstone in Park Slope with her husband and 2 daughters. The kind of house that cost $3 million and represented everything Maya had once wanted: legitimate success, family, stability. All built on corruption. Maya stood across the street at 6:47 a.m., watching the house come alive. Lights in the kitchen. Movement behind curtains. Sarah appeared in the window, coffee mug in hand, looking at her phone. She looked happy, comfortable, untroubled by the lives she'd destroyed. The burner phone buzzed in Maya's pocket. "Minseek, you ready?" Maya typed, "Yes." She crossed the street and knocked on the door. Sarah answered in yoga pants and a Columbia Law sweatshirt, hair in a messy bun. Her smile was automatic until she registered who was standing on her porch. Then it became something else. Concern. Guilt. Carefully constructed sympathy. Maya? Oh my God, Maya. What are you doing here? Can I come in? Of course. Of course. Sarah stepped back, letting her inside. The house smelled like expensive coffee and someone's vanilla lotion. Children's artwork covered the refrigerator. Family photos lined the hallway. Normal. Legitimate. A lie. I'm so glad you came, Sarah said, ushering her into the kitchen. I've been worried about you. The way everything happened, Maya, I want you to know I fought for you. I tried to. Stop. Sarah froze. What? Stop lying. We both know you didn't fight for me. Maya set her bag on the counter. We both know exactly what you did. The concern drained from Sarah's face, replaced by something harder. Calculating. I don't know what you're talking about. David Park. Thomas Chin. The Volkov Syndicate. Maya pulled out a manila folder, printouts Jean had prepared. 6 years of payments. $200,000. Also, you could close out my cases and make sure nothing stuck to your actual employers. Sarah's face went white. How did you? It doesn't matter how. What matters is that I have documentation. Wire transfers. Emails. Recorded phone calls. Maya opened the folder, spreading papers across the kitchen counter. What matters is that I can destroy you the same way you destroyed me. Maya, please. You don't understand the pressure I was under. I understand perfectly. You chose money over mentorship. You sacrificed your junior attorney to protect yourself. You let me believe you cared about me while you were actively sabotaging my career. Maya's voice was ice. I understand completely. Sarah's hands shook as she picked up one of the documents. If this gets out, my family, Emily's in college. Emily's college fund came from blood money. From the cases you sabotaged. From the victims you betrayed. Maya leaned against the counter. Tell me, Sarah. Do you tell her where the money comes from? Does she know her tuition is paid with corruption? She doesn't know anything. She's innocent. So was I. And that didn't stop you. Silence fell between them. Heavy. Poisonous. Sarah set down the papers with trembling hands. What do you want? I want you to testify. Against Thomas Chin. Against the Volkov Syndicate. Against everyone you've been protecting. Maya's smile was sharp as broken glass. I want you to confess everything. Publicly. Completely. They'll kill me. You know what they do to people who flip. Then you should have thought of that before you took their money. Maya straightened. You have 24 hours. Either you contact the FBI and offer to cooperate, or these documents get leaked to every media outlet in the city. Your choice. Maya, please. We're done. Maya picked up her bag. You taught me a lot, Sarah. How to build cases. How to protect witnesses. How to manipulate evidence. She walked to the door, then paused. You also taught me that loyalty is a weakness. Thank you for that lesson. She walked out without looking back. Sarah's voice followed her. This isn't you, Maya. This isn't who you are. Maya kept walking. By the time she reached the sidewalk, her phone was buzzing. Minseek, how do you feel? Maya looked back at the brownstone. At the life built on corruption. At the woman who'd betrayed her without hesitation. She typed, powerful. His response came immediately, good. Because we're not done. Thomas Chin is next. Maya smiled and headed for the Mercedes waiting around the corner. Thomas Chin's office was on the 8th floor of the Manhattan DA's building. Maya had worked on the 6th floor for 12 years. She knew every security guard, every access code, every camera blind spot. She'd been counting on that knowledge. This is insane, Jean said. They were parked 3 blocks away, surveillance equipment spread across the Mercedes backseat. You can't just walk into the DA's office. You're disbarred. They'll arrest you. They'll try to arrest me, Maya corrected. But first, they'll want to know what I'm doing there. And that'll give me enough time. Time for what? To make Thomas Chin confess. She checked her reflection in the visor mirror. Different look today, Not the severe ADA, but something softer. Wounded. The version of herself that Thomas thought still existed. He thinks I'm broken. Desperate. He'll want to gloat. And while he's gloating, Maya held up her phone. The recording app was already open. I'll get him on tape admitting everything. Jean looked skeptical. Mr. Kang said to extract you if this goes sideways. It won't go sideways. Everyone says that right before it goes sideways. Maya opened the car door. The afternoon was cold, autumn turning to winter. The DA's building looked the same as always, imposing, institutional, full of people pretending justice existed. She walked inside like she belonged there. The security guard at the front desk was new, some young guy who didn't know her face. Maya flashed her old ID too quickly for him to read the dates and walked past before he could protest. Elevator to the 8th floor. The bullpen was busy, ADAs at their desks, phones ringing, the controlled chaos of conviction quotas and caseloads. Maya kept her head down and walked straight to Thomas's office. His door was open. He was on the phone, laughing about something. He looked good, rested, successful, completely untroubled by guilt. Maya knocked on the door frame. Thomas looked up. The laughter died. Maya? What are you? You can't be here. We need to talk. She closed the door behind her, heart hammering. Now. He stood, phone still in hand. I'm calling security. Go ahead. And I'll tell them everything I know about your relationship with Dmitry Volkov. About David Park. About the $50,000 you got the month we got married. Maya sat down in his guest chair. Or you can sit down and hear me out. Thomas stared at her for a long moment. Then he slowly set down the phone and sat. What do you want? He asked. I want to understand. Why you did it. Why you married me, used me, destroyed me. Her voice was steady. I deserve to know why. Something flickered across his face. Guilt? Satisfaction? Hard to tell. You really don't know, he said finally. No. Explain it to me. Thomas leaned back in his chair, studying her. You were perfect, Maya. The idealistic junior ADA who actually believed in the system. Who worked late, built brilliant cases, never questioned her superiors. You were everyone's favorite, smart, capable, trustworthy. And you used that. I used your access. Your reputation. Your blind spots. His smile was cold. The Volkovs needed someone inside the DA's office who could manipulate cases without raising suspicion. I needed a cover. You needed someone to love you. The words were designed to hurt. They succeeded. So the marriage was fake. All of it. Not all of it. I did like you, Maya. You were convenient. He shrugged. But then you started investigating too deeply. Started asking questions about cases that were supposed to be closed. You were about to stumble onto something that would have exposed everything. So you framed me first. I protected myself. That's what smart people do. Thomas leaned forward. You were always so naive, Maya. So convinced that working hard and following rules would lead to justice. But this system, he gestured around the office. It's not about justice. It's about power. About who can manipulate the rules better. And you're proud of that. I'm realistic about it. You wanted to believe in something that doesn't exist. I just took advantage of that belief. His expression was almost pitying. You're here now looking for what revenge? Closure? It doesn't matter. You've already lost. I have your career. Your reputation. Your life. And there's nothing you can do about it. Maya felt the phone recording in her pocket. Every word. Every confession. You're right, she said softly. I was naive. I did believe in the system. I trusted you. And look where that got you. It got me here. To this moment. Where I finally understand. She stood. Thank you for that, Thomas. For teaching me what monsters look like. He laughed. Monsters? I'm not a monster, Maya. I'm just practical. No. You're a monster. But here's the thing about monsters, she walked to the door, then turned back. They only win if the people they hurt stay afraid. Is that supposed to scare me? You coming here making threats? You're pathetic. Maybe. But I'm not the one about to be arrested for corruption, bribery, and obstruction of justice. She opened the door. That confession you just gave? I recorded it. Every word. And it's already been sent to 3 different federal agencies. Thomas's face drained of color. You're lying. Am I? Check your phone. I bet you're getting calls right now. As if on cue, his phone buzzed. Then again. Then started ringing. Thomas picked it up. Looked at the screen. Went completely white. Federal Bureau of Investigation, read the caller ID. Maya smiled. Enjoy the rest of your day, Thomas. I know I will. She walked out of his office, through the bullpen where ADAs were starting to notice something was wrong, into the elevator and down to the lobby. Security was waiting. Ma'am, you need to come with us. I'm leaving, Maya said calmly. And unless you want to be part of a federal obstruction case, I suggest you let me. The guard hesitated, radio in hand. Maya didn't wait. She walked out the front door, down the steps, into the cold afternoon air that tasted like victory. The Mercedes was where she'd left it. Jean had the door open before she reached the curb. Did you get it? He asked as she slid inside. Maya held up the phone. The recording app showed 47 minutes of audio. I got everything, she said. Jean pulled into traffic, smooth and efficient. Mr. King will be pleased. Maya looked out the window as they drove through Manhattan. At the city that had built her up and torn her down and was now her hunting ground. How long before they arrest him? She asked. Federal investigation will take weeks. But the evidence we've been feeding them, combined with your recording, David Park's cooperation, and Sarah Mitchell's testimony, Jean glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Thomas Chin will be indicted within a month. Convicted within 6. Good. Is it? Everything you wanted, revenge, justice, watching him burn, it's happening. Do you feel better? Maya considered the question. Thought about Thomas's face when he'd realized what she'd done. The fear. The recognition that she'd beaten him using his own playbook. I feel alive, she said finally. Is that the same thing as better? That's between you and your conscience. They drove in silence for several blocks. Where are we going? Maya asked. Mr. Kong wants to see you. To celebrate. Jin's smile was visible in the mirror. And to discuss your next assignment. What assignment? He didn't say. But knowing him? Jin's smile widened. Something interesting. Minseek's penthouse was filled with people when Maya arrived. Not a party, exactly, more like a strategy meeting. A dozen men and women in expensive clothes, speaking Korean and English in low, serious tones. This was the inner circle. The people who actually ran K-Town's criminal empire. They all looked up when Maya entered. Minseek said, breaking away from a conversation. Our guest of honor. He crossed to her in 3 long strides and kissed her cheek. The gesture was possessive, territorial. A statement to everyone watching. She's mine. Maya felt the room's attention sharpen. Everyone, Minseek announced in English, switching languages for her benefit. This is Maya Kong, former ADA, current architect of Thomas Chen's downfall. She'll be joining our organization in a permanent capacity. Polite applause. Assessing looks. Maya kept her expression neutral, meeting each gaze with confidence she didn't quite feel. A woman approached, mid-40s, elegant, with the kind of bone structure that made expensive clothes look effortless. So you're the one who had the balls to walk into Minseek's restaurant with a gun. I am. Impressive. Stupid, but impressive. She extended her hand. Park Soo-jin. I run the financial operations. Maya shook her hand. Maya Kong. We know who you are. Soo-jin's smile was sharp. The question is whether you'll survive long enough to matter. Is that a threat? An observation. Most people who join this organization don't last. Either they can't handle the violence, or they get sloppy and end up arrested, or they betray us and end up dead. Her eyes were calculating. Which will you be? None of the above. We'll see. The evening continued like that, introductions, veiled threats, tests disguised as conversation. Maya understood what was happening. She was being evaluated. Sized up. These people needed to know if she was an asset or a liability. She made sure they knew she was an asset. By midnight, most of the guests had left. Only Min-sik and Soo-jin remained, sitting at the dining table with financial documents spread between them. The Volkov situation is escalating, Soo-jin was saying. With David Park cooperating and Thomas Chin compromised, they're looking for vulnerabilities in our operations. Let them look, Min-sik said. Our books are clean. Our books are excellent fiction. But if they push hard enough, they won't. Because we're about to give them something else to worry about. He looked at Maya. Come here. Maya approached the table. The documents showed money flows, business connections, territorial maps. The Volkovs have been expanding into K-Town for 3 years, Min-sik explained. Small moves. Careful. Buying buildings, opening businesses, recruiting local gangs. It's been annoying but manageable. Until now, Soo-jin added. Until now, Min-sik agreed. David Park's cooperation means the FBI is investigating Volkov's financial operations, which means they'll be distracted. Vulnerable. He tapped the map. There's a warehouse in Red Hook. Volkov uses it to process heroin imports from Eastern Europe. Street value of about $20 million moves through there every month. Maya saw where this was going. You want to hit it? I want to destroy it. Burn the inventory, kill the operation, send a message that K-Town is off limits. His smile was cold. And I want you to help me plan it. Why me? Because you know how law enforcement thinks. How they investigate. How they build cases. He leaned back in his chair. If we hit that warehouse, there will be consequences. Federal attention. NYPD investigation. Potential RICO charges. I need someone who can help us do this without leaving evidence. You want me to plan a crime that law enforcement can't solve? Exactly. Soo-jin was watching Maya carefully. Can you do that? Maya looked at the map. At the warehouse location. At the money flows and business connections that represented Dmitry Volkov's empire. She thought about what Thomas had said. This system isn't about justice. It's about power. Yes, she said. I can do that. Min-sik's smile was proud and dangerous. Then let's plan a war. They worked through the night. Maya, Min-sik, Soo-jin, and Jean, the core team, spread across the penthouse with laptops and documents and coffee that turned cold as they strategized. Law enforcement will assume organized crime, Maya said, pointing at her notes. Which means they'll look for patterns. Known associates. Prior conflicts between organizations. So we make it look like something else, Jean suggested. Like what? A random robbery. Soo-jin shook her head. 20 million in heroin? No one's going to believe that's random. Not random, Maya said slowly. An idea forming. Righteous. They all looked at her. Explain, Min-sik said. What if it looks like a law enforcement operation? Not official, off the books. Rogue agents who decided to take justice into their own hands. Maya stood, pacing. We hit the warehouse in tactical gear. Military-grade weapons. Professional execution. Make it look like a Black Ops team. And the heroin? Soo-jin asked. We destroy it. Burn it completely. Don't steal it, don't repurpose it, just eliminate it. Maya's mind was racing now, pieces falling into place. Because the goal isn't profit. It's punishment. It's a message. Min-sik was smiling now. Go on. We plant evidence suggesting corrupt law enforcement. Maybe some DA credentials, fake, but good enough to confuse the investigation. Maybe a manifesto about cleaning up the city, punishing criminals the system won't touch. She turned to face them. Make it look like vigilantes. Like someone decided to play judge, jury, and executioner. The FBI will investigate, Jean pointed out. Of course they will. But what will they find? Evidence of rogue agents operating outside the law. Evidence that contradicts everything they think they know about how organized crime works. Maya sat back down. They'll waste months chasing shadows while we consolidate power in K-Town. Silence fell. Then Minsik laughed, rich and genuine and full of approval. You're brilliant, he said. Absolutely brilliant. It's not brilliant. It's just understanding how investigators think. How they build narratives. Maya met his eyes. I spent 12 years prosecuting criminals. I know what makes cases fall apart. Which is exactly why I hired you. Minsik leaned forward. Sujin, can we acquire DEA credentials? Fake ones? Yes. Good fakes? Give me a week. Jean, tactical gear? I know a supplier. Military surplus, untraceable. Good. We hit them 2 weeks from tonight. Full operation. 20 people, professional execution, no survivors who can identify us. Minsik's expression was hard now. Focused. Maya, I want you there. I want you to see what we do. Her stomach flipped. You want me at the warehouse. I want you to understand what you're part of. What you're planning. His eyes were steady. This isn't theoretical anymore. This is real violence against real people. If you're going to work for me, you need to see it. Participate in it. I'm not a soldier. No. But you're smart and capable, and you need to know what your plans look like in execution. He reached across the table, taking her hand. I won't force you. But I'm asking. Will you come? Maya looked at their joined hands. At the man who'd given her back her power. Who'd helped her destroy Thomas Chin and Sarah Mitchell and everyone who'd betrayed her. Who was now asking her to cross from planning crimes to committing them. Yes, she said. I'll come. His grip tightened. Then we'll make you ready. The next 2 weeks were intensive training. Minsik assigned Jean as her instructor. They met in a private gym in the basement of Baekdu, the kind of facility that looked like a corporate fitness center, but had soundproofed walls and lockers full of weapons. You said your father taught you to shoot, Jean said on the first day. Show me. He handed her a Glock 19, similar to her father's gun, the one she'd left on Minsik's table. Maya checked the chamber automatically, muscle memory from years ago. Empty. Jean loaded a magazine and handed it to her. 15 rounds. Targets 20 feet away. Let's see what you remember. Maya had always been good at this. Her father had insisted on it, weekly range practice from age 16 until he died. She'd let the skill lapse after joining the DA's office. Prosecutors didn't need to know how to shoot. Criminals did. She loaded the magazine, racked the slide, and fired. The first shot was high, the second closer. By the 5th shot, she'd found her rhythm. By the 15th, she was grouping them center mass. Not perfect, but not bad. Decent, Jean said, examining the target. You're pulling left. Anticipating recoil. We'll fix that. They worked for hours. Shooting drills. Combat reloading. Malfunction clearing. Jean was patient but demanding, pushing her until her hands ached and her ears rang despite the hearing protection. Again, he said. Faster this time. I need a break. You'll get a break when you're dead. Again. Maya loaded another magazine and fired. The training wasn't just weapons. Jean taught her tactical movement, how to clear a room, how to work as part of a team, how to use cover effectively, how to think like a soldier instead of a lawyer. This isn't a courtroom, he said during a break. There are no rules here. No witnesses. No appeals. You shoot first or you die first. Understood? Do you? Because when we hit that warehouse, there will be people there. Guards. Workers. Maybe innocents who don't know what they're protecting. His expression was flat. We're not arresting them. We're killing them. The words hung in the air between them. I know, Maya said. Knowing and doing are different things. Have you ever killed someone? No. Then you don't know. Jean stood, offering his hand to pull her up. But you'll learn. That night, you'll learn exactly what you're capable of. On the 10th day, Minsik joined the training. How is she? He asked Jean. Good. Natural talent. Needs more repetition, but she'll be functional. Functional isn't enough. She needs to be confident. Minsik turned to Maya. Let's spar. Spar. Hand to hand. I want to see how you move. Maya glanced at Jean, who shrugged. He's the boss. They moved to the mats. Minsik stripped off his shirt, revealing a fighter's body all muscle and old scars. A dragon tattoo coiled up his left arm, disappearing beneath his shoulder. Maya kept her workout clothes on. She felt suddenly very aware of how physically outmatched she was. Your father taught you self-defense? Minsik asked. Basic techniques. Enough to get away. Show me. He moved faster than she expected. One moment he was across the mat, the next he was on her, hand reaching for her throat. Maya reacted on instinct. Blocked. Twisted. Used his momentum to throw him off balance. He recovered instantly, sweeping her legs out from under her. She hit the mat hard, breath knocked out. Again, he said. They sparred for 20 minutes. Maya landed a few hits, good ones that would have stopped a normal attacker. But Minsik wasn't normal. He was trained, experienced, and significantly stronger. Finally, she ended up pinned beneath him, his weight holding her down, his hand on her throat applying just enough pressure to make breathing difficult. What do you do now? He asked. Maya tried to break the hold. Couldn't. Tried to buck him off. Couldn't. I lose, she gasped. No. You adapt. He increased the pressure slightly. You bite. You gouge eyes. You use whatever weapon is closest, your teeth, your nails, a pen, a rock. You fight dirty because fighting fair means dying. He released her and stood, offering his hand. Maya took it, letting him pull her up. Her throat ached. Her body was covered in sweat and bruises. You're stronger than you think, Minsik said quietly. But strength isn't just physical. It's mental. It's the willingness to do whatever is necessary to survive. He touched her cheek, gentle, almost tender. Can you do that, Maya? Can you do whatever is necessary? She met his eyes. Saw the darkness there. The violence. The absolute certainty. Yes, she said. I can. He smiled. Good. Because tomorrow night, I'll need you to prove it. The warehouse in Red Hook sat on an industrial pier, surrounded by shipping containers and abandoned buildings. At 2:47 a.m., it was dark and quiet, with only 2 guards visible on the loading dock. Inside were 6 more guards, 3 processing workers, and $20 million worth of heroin in various stages of being cut and packaged for distribution. Also inside, if Maya's planning was correct, was evidence that would implicate corrupt law enforcement in what was about to happen. She sat in the back of a van with 19 other people, all wearing tactical gear and carrying weapons that looked military-grade. Her own gear was tight bulletproof vest, black fatigues, combat boots. A Glock 19 in a chest holster, loaded and ready. She'd checked the weapon 6 times already. Minsik sat next to her, calm and focused. Remember, stay with Jean. Don't try to be a hero. Just document everything and stay alive. I remember. Good. He touched her face, the same gentle gesture from yesterday. After tonight, you're one of us. Completely. I know. He kissed her then. Hard and possessive and full of promises. Then Jean opened the van doors and they were moving. The assault was surgical. Jin's team hit the loading dock, while Minsik's team breached the main entrance. Maya followed Jean, camera in one hand and weapon in the other. The first guard went down with 3 silence shots. The second started to run. Maya aimed and fired. The recoil was familiar. The guard dropped. She'd just killed someone. The thought was distant, abstract. She felt nothing. No horror. No guilt. Just cold purpose. They moved through the warehouse systematically. More shots. More bodies. The processing workers tried to surrender. Jean shot them anyway. No witnesses, he said flatly. Maya kept filming. Recording the fake DEA credentials they planted. The manifesto they left on a computer. The professional execution that would confuse investigators for months. In the back room, they found the heroin. Brick after brick, stacked to the ceiling. Burn it, Minseek ordered. His team doused the drugs and accelerant. Maya watched them work, still filming, still documenting. Someone touched her shoulder. She spun, weapon up. Minseek. Time to go. They left through the loading dock as the fire started. By the time they reached the vans, the warehouse was an inferno, orange flames against black sky, smoke billowing into the harbor. $20 million and 9 lives turning to ash. They drove back to K-Town in silence. Maya sat in the van, hands steady on her weapon, and realized she felt nothing about what they'd just done. No regret. No horror. Just satisfaction that the plan had worked. Minseek was watching her. How do you feel? Alive, she said. Same answer as before. Same truth. He smiled. Welcome to the family, Maya Kong. You're one of us now. She looked down at her hands. At the weapon she'd used to kill a man. He was right. She was one of them now. There was no going back. The warehouse fire made the news within hours. Major drug bust gone wrong, read the headlines. Rogue law enforcement suspected in heroin destruction. The FBI launched an immediate investigation. Maya watched the coverage from Minseek's penthouse, coffee in hand, feeling distantly satisfied. Everything was playing out exactly as she'd planned. The fake DEA credentials had been found. The manifesto discovered. Investigators were chasing ghosts. Beautiful work, Sujin said, reading through the news on her tablet. They're completely confused. Some agencies think it was vigilantes. Others think it's a rival cartel sending a message. Nobody's connecting it to us. They won't, Maya said. Because it doesn't fit their understanding of how we operate. Minseek was on his phone, speaking rapid Korean. He'd been fielding calls all morning from his own organization, from allies, from rivals wanting to know what happened. He hung up and crossed to Maya, pulling her against him. The gesture was possessive, public. Sujin raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Volkov is panicking, Minseek said. He's pulling resources from everywhere to protect his remaining operations. Which means K-Town is ours. Congratulations, Maya said. Congratulations to us. You made this possible. He kissed her temple. How does it feel? Truthfully, it felt anticlimactic. Maya had spent weeks planning the raid, had killed someone, had crossed every line she'd spent her career defending. She'd expected to feel something. Guilt. Horror. Transformation. Instead, she just felt tired. It feels like the beginning, she said. It is. The beginning of your new life. He released her, turning back to the windows. Thomas Chen's indictment came through this morning. Federal charges, bribery, obstruction, corruption. He'll be arraigned next week. And Sarah Mitchell? Already flipped. She's cooperating with 3 separate investigations. Minseek's smile was sharp. Your old mentor is spending her retirement in witness protection, testifying against everyone she ever worked with. Good. Good. That's all you feel. Maya set down her coffee. What should I feel? Triumphant? Satisfied? They destroyed me, so I destroyed them back. That's justice. That's revenge. Not the same thing, isn't it? She turned to face him. You killed the man who murdered your father. Did you feel satisfied? I felt empty. Satisfied and empty at the same time. Like I'd done what needed to be done, but lost something in the process. His expression was serious. That's what revenge costs, Maya. It gives you what you wanted and takes everything you were. Good, Maya said. Because I don't want to be who I was. That woman was weak. She believed in systems that didn't exist. She trusted people who didn't deserve it. And who are you now? Maya looked at her reflection in the windows. At the woman in expensive clothes she'd bought with criminal money, standing in a crime lord's penthouse, planning the destruction of her enemies. I'm someone who understands power, she said. Someone who takes instead of asks. Minseek pulled her back against him, his chin resting on her shoulder. Then let's take everything. Maya's apartment lease was up. There was no reason to renew it. She'd been spending most nights at Minseek's penthouse anyway, and the sublet in Sunset Park felt like another life. Jessica helped her pack the few belongings she'd accumulated. "So you're really moving in with him," Jessica said, folding clothes into a box. "Your new boyfriend?" Maya had been vague about Minseek. Had described him as a businessman, someone she'd met through networking. Jessica didn't need to know the truth. "It makes sense," Maya said. "His place is bigger. Closer to where I'm working." "And where are you working exactly?" "You've been super secretive about this new job." "Consulting. Financial analysis. It's boring." Jessica looked skeptical but didn't push. "You seem different. Happier, maybe? Or just different?" "I am different. The last few months changed me. I can tell." "The Maya I knew wouldn't have." Jessica stopped, shaking her head. "Never mind." "Wouldn't have what?" "Wouldn't have moved on so fast. From Thomas, from the disbarment, from everything. It's like you just flipped a switch and became someone else." Maya taped up a box. "Maybe I did. Maybe the old Maya didn't work anymore. That's what worries me." They packed in silence for a while. Maya had already moved her important things, her father's medals, her law school diploma that now felt like a relic from someone else's life, the few photos she couldn't bring herself to destroy. Everything else was just stuff. Her phone buzzed. "Text from Minseek. Need you at Baekdu. Now. It's important." "I have to go," Maya said. "Now? We're not done. Leave the rest. I'll come back for it." She grabbed her jacket. "Thanks for letting me stay, Jess." "I know it wasn't easy." Jessica caught her arm. "Maya, wait. Are you okay? Like really okay?" "I'm perfect. Better than I've been in months." "That's what scares me. After everything that happened, the disbarment, Thomas, losing your career, you should be devastated. But you're acting like everything's fine. Like you're thriving." Maya pulled her arm free. "Maybe I am thriving. Maybe losing everything was the best thing that ever happened to me. That's not healthy. I don't need healthy. I need powerful." She headed for the door. "I'll be in touch." She left Jessica standing in the half-packed apartment, looking worried. 20 minutes later, Maya walked into Baekdu. The restaurant was closed, unusual for a Saturday afternoon. Jean met her at the door, expression grim. "What's wrong?" Maya asked. "Upstairs. Mr. Kong is waiting." The private dining room, the same one where Maya had met Minseek for the first time, was full. Sujin, Jean, and a half-dozen other organization members. All of them looked tense. Minseek stood by the window, phone in hand. His expression was controlled fury. "We have a problem," he said without preamble. "Someone leaked information about the warehouse raid to the Volkovs. Specifically, about who planned it." Maya's stomach dropped. "They know about me? They know about you. They know about your role in destroying Thomas Chin and Sarah Mitchell. They know you're working for me." His jaw tightened. "And they've put a price on your head. $2 million. The room went silent. "How?" Maya demanded. "We were careful. The only people who knew were..." She looked around at the assembled faces. "People in this room." "Exactly," Sujin said quietly. "Which means we have a mole." Minseek's expression was granite. "Someone here betrayed us." "Betrayed Maya. And I want to know who." No one spoke. The tension was thick enough to choke on. "Jean," Minseek said. "Lock the doors. No one leaves until we find out who sold Maya to the Volkovs." Jean moved to comply. Maya felt her heart rate spike. She was trapped in a room with 19 people, one of whom wanted her dead. This was going to get ugly. For 2 hours, Minseek questioned everyone. It was methodical, brutal, and terrifying. He went person by person, demanding to know their movements, their communications, their financial records. Sujin had already hacked into everyone's phones and computers, displaying text messages and emails for the room to see. Maya watched it happen with a kind of clinical detachment. This was her life now. Interrogations. Paranoia. Violence as problem-solving. She should be horrified. Instead, she was taking notes. "You," Minseek said, pointing at a young guy named David. You called someone 3 times yesterday. Unknown number. Who was it? My cousin. He's visiting from Seoul. Call him. Now. On speaker. David's hands shook as he dialed. The call went to voicemail, someone speaking Korean that Maya didn't understand. Translation. Min-sik demanded. Soo-jin listened, then shook her head. Just a voicemail greeting. Nothing suspicious. They moved on. Person after person. Hour after hour. Finally, Min-sik turned to someone Maya knew. Park Min-jun, one of the people who'd been at the warehouse raid. Who'd been part of the inner circle for years. Min-jun. Your finances show a deposit of $50,000 2 days ago. Source? Min-jun went pale. It was payment for. For what? Answer me. For information. About the raid. About Maya. His voice cracked. They approached me. Said they'd kill my family if I didn't cooperate. I didn't have a choice. Min-sik moved so fast Maya barely saw it. One moment he was across the room. The next he had Min-jun by the throat, slammed against the wall. You had a choice, Min-sik said quietly. Dangerously. You chose money and cowardice over loyalty. Please, I'm sorry, they threatened my daughter. And now you've threatened Maya's life. You've threatened this entire organization. Min-sik's voice was ice. Did you think I wouldn't find out? I had to protect my family. Your family doesn't exist anymore. They're dead the moment you betrayed me. Min-jun started crying. No. No, please, not my daughter. She's only 12. Min-sik released him. Min-jun collapsed to the floor, sobbing. Your daughter will live, Min-sik said. But you won't. He pulled a gun from his jacket, the Sig Sauer Maya had seen on his coffee table, and pointed it at Min-jun's head. Wait, Maya said. Everyone looked at her. He has a daughter, Maya continued. A family. He made a choice to protect them. She stopped, realizing what she was about to say. That's understandable. He betrayed us, Min-sik said flatly. The punishment is death. I know. But Maya looked at Min-jun. At the man crying on the floor. At the human being who'd made a terrible choice for sympathetic reasons. She thought about her father. About what he'd taught her. About justice versus revenge. He deserves to die, Maya said quietly. But killing him doesn't solve our problem. The Volkovs still know about me. They'll still come after me. So, what do you suggest? Maya walked over to Min-jun, crouched down so they were eye level. You're going to help us. You're going to go back to the Volkovs and tell them you have more information. About where I'll be. When I'll be vulnerable. You want to use me as bait? Min-jun asked through tears. I want to use you to set a trap. You'll tell them I'll be at a specific location at a specific time. They'll send people to collect that bounty. And we'll be waiting. Her smile was cold. Then the problem solves itself. Min-sik was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Pride? Concern? Some combination? And after the trap, he asked. After the trap, Min-jun disappears. New identity. New city. His family too. Maya stood. That's the deal. He helps us eliminate the threat, and he gets to live. His daughter gets to keep her father. That's mercy, Min-sik said. No. That's strategy. Dead, he's useless. Alive and terrified, he's an asset. Maya met his eyes. Unless you'd prefer revenge over results? The room was silent. Everyone watching the power dynamic shift. Watching Maya challenge Min-sik's authority. He smiled slowly. Results. Always results. He lowered the gun. Min-jun, you'll do exactly what Maya says. Fail, and I'll kill your daughter myself. Succeed, and you'll disappear so completely that even I won't be able to find you. Min-jun nodded frantically. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank Maya. She just saved your life. Min-sik turned to the room. Everyone out. We're done here. The group filed out silently. Only Soo-jin hesitated. That was interesting, she said to Maya. Offering mercy to a traitor. Not mercy. Pragmatism. Maybe. Or maybe you're not as comfortable with murder as you pretend. Soo-jin's expression was unreadable. Either way, you just made yourself look weak or compassionate. In this business, both will get you killed. She left. Maya and Minseek were alone in the room. He holstered his weapon and crossed to her. That was dangerous, he said. Undermining my authority. Offering alternatives to my decisions. Are you angry? No. I'm impressed. He cupped her face. You're not just smart. You're strategic. You see the bigger picture. That's rare. I'm just doing what makes sense. What makes sense is killing traitors to send a message. What you did was calculate that Minjun's death would cost more than his cooperation would gain. His thumb traced her cheekbone. That's leadership, Maya. That's power. I don't want leadership. I want revenge. You'll have it. But first, we need to deal with the Volkovs. His expression hardened. This trap you're proposing. You'll be the bait. I know. They'll send professionals. Killers. People who won't hesitate. I know that too. And you're willing to risk your life to draw them out? Maya thought about the last few months. About losing everything and gaining something else. About becoming someone who could stand in rooms full of criminals and make them listen. I'm willing to risk everything, she said. Because I don't have anything left to lose. He kissed her then. Deep and possessive and full of dark promises. When he pulled back, his eyes were black and intense. Then let's hunt, he said. Together. The trap was set for 3 days later. Location: an empty office building in Long Island City that Minseek's organization owned. Time: 2 a.m. Bait: Maya, apparently alone and vulnerable. Minjun had delivered the information to his Volkov contact perfectly. Maya would be at the building, reviewing financial documents that could further incriminate the Volkov organization. She'd be alone. Easy target. The Volkovs bit. For vehicles approaching, Jin's voice came through Maya's earpiece. She was sitting at a desk on the 3rd floor, laptop open, playing the part of someone absorbed in work. 2 from the north, 2 from the south. At least 12 people. Copy, Minseek responded. He was 2 floors above with 8 of his best fighters, waiting. Maya, you ready? Ready, she said. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She had a weapon, Glock 19, loaded and tucked into her waistband. But against 12 professional killers, she was hopelessly outmatched. This was insane. This was exactly what she'd signed up for. They're entering the building, Jean reported. Ground floor. Moving tactical. These aren't amateurs. Maya kept her eyes on the laptop, fingers flying over keys. She'd set up the desk to be visible from the hallway. Anyone approaching would see her before she saw them. Perfect bait. Footsteps in the stairwell. Quiet. Professional. Her hand moved to the weapon at her waist. Not yet, Minseek said in her ear. Wait for my signal. The footsteps grew closer. Multiple people. Moving information. A shadow fell across the doorway. Then 4 men entered, weapons raised. They wore tactical gear and balaclavas, faces hidden. But Maya could see their eyes, cold, focused, professional. Don't move, one of them said in accented English. You're coming with us. Maya raised her hands slowly. Coming where? Dmitry Volkov wants to meet you. Lucky me. The man crossed the room toward her. The others fanned out, covering angles. Professional. Military trained. Maya's hand was still near her waistband, fingers inches from her weapon. Now, Minseek said. Everything happened at once. Maya drew and fired 2 shots into the closest man. He went down hard. Windows exploded as Minseek's team rappelled from the floor above, crashing through glass in a shower of fragments. Gunfire erupted, deafening in the enclosed space. Maya dove behind the desk, ears ringing. Someone returned fire, bullets chewing through drywall above her head. She counted shots, waited for the pause as magazines were reloaded, then moved. Around the desk. Another target. She fired 3 times. Center mass. The way Jean had taught her. The man dropped. More shots. More chaos. The room filled with smoke and cordite smell. Then silence. Maya stayed behind the desk, weapon raised, breathing hard. Clear, Minsik's voice called. Maya, you good? I'm good. She stood slowly. The room was a disaster, broken glass, bullet holes, blood. 6 bodies on the floor. Minsik's team was securing the others, the ones who'd surrendered or been injured. Minsik crossed to her, checking her over. You're bleeding. Maya looked down. Glass had cut her arm, shallow but bleeding freely. She hadn't even felt it. I'm fine. You shot 2 people. They were trying to kill me. I returned the favor. Her hands were shaking now, adrenaline crash hitting. Did we get all of them? Most. 3 got away. Jin's team is tracking them. He pulled her against him, heedless of the blood and debris. You were brave. And stupid. And brilliant. I was bait. That was the plan. The plan was for you to be bait who survives. You exceeded expectations. He kissed her temple. How do you feel? Maya looked around the room. At the dead men. At the evidence of violence she'd participated in. Alive, she said. Same answer. Always the same answer. Because it was the only truth that mattered anymore. The captured Volkov soldiers were taken to a warehouse in Queens, one of Minsik's properties that had been soundproofed for exactly this purpose. Interrogations. Maya watched from behind one-way glass as Minsik's team worked. It was professional, efficient, and brutal. Within 2 hours, they had locations of other Volkov operations, names of corrupt officials, and confirmation that Dmitry Volkov himself had ordered the hit on Maya. He's scared, Sujin observed, standing next to Maya. The warehouse raid destabilized his entire operation. The FBI investigation is closing in. And now he's losing soldiers trying to eliminate a threat that's already done the damage. So what's next? Maya asked. Next, we finish this. We go after Volkov directly. That's a war. No. That's strategy. Volkov is isolated now. He's lost resources, lost allies, lost the element of surprise. Hitting him now, while he's vulnerable, ends this before it escalates further. Sujin turned to look at her. But it needs to be devastating. Complete. We can't leave any room for retaliation. Maya watched Minsik through the glass. He was interrogating personally now, not torturing, just talking. Calm. Controlled. Absolutely terrifying. This was the man she'd fallen into partnership with. Into something more than partnership. She understood what Sujin was suggesting. You want to kill Volkov? I want to eliminate him as a threat. That means killing him, destroying his organization, and making sure no one else tries the same thing. Sujin's expression was hard. This is your chance, Maya. To architect the plan that ends this. To prove you're not just smart, you're ruthless. I'm already ruthless. Are you? You offered mercy to Minjun. You hesitate before pulling the trigger. Sujin's voice dropped. In this world, hesitation is death. For you and everyone who depends on you. Maya met her eyes. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that if you want to survive here, if you want to thrive, you need to stop thinking like a prosecutor and start thinking like a predator. She nodded toward Minsik. He sees potential in you. We all do. But potential isn't enough. You need to be willing to do anything. Become anything. I'm already becoming a monster. Then embrace it. Completely. Stop holding on to pieces of who you used to be. Sujin's smile was sharp. The old Maya Kong is dead. Let her stay dead. That night, Maya and Minsik planned Volkov's assassination. He has a penthouse in Brighton Beach, Minsik said, pointing at building schematics spread across his dining table. 24-hour security. Cameras everywhere. Panic room. He's paranoid. Good. Paranoid people make mistakes. Maya studied the layout. What's his routine? He doesn't have one. That's the problem. He varies his schedule, uses different vehicles, never goes anywhere unprotected. Everyone has patterns. We just need to find his. She pulled up her laptop. Who does he trust? Family? Old friends. His brother. Alexei Volkov. They're very close. Where's Alexei? Minsik pulled up a file. Prison. Serving 15 years for racketeering. Dmitry visits him once a month. Always the same day, last Saturday of the month. Maya's pulse quickened. That's his pattern. That's when he's vulnerable. He takes 6 bodyguards to those visits. I don't care if he takes 60. It's still a pattern we can exploit. She started sketching on paper. What route does he take? They worked for hours. Building the plan. Identifying vulnerabilities. Maya felt the familiar rush of strategy, of seeing the pieces fall into place. This was what she was good at. What she'd always been good at. Now she was using it to architect murder. Here, she said finally, pointing at the map. There's a section of highway with limited cameras. If we time it right, fake a traffic accident, force him to stop, we can hit him while he's exposed. Minsik was smiling. You're brilliant. You know that? I'm practical. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, you're designing an assassination with the same focus you probably use to design prosecutions. He pulled her onto his lap. You've fully embraced this, haven't you? Maya thought about that. About the last few months. About crossing every line she'd once defended. Yes, she said simply. I've embraced it. No regrets? None. He kissed her. Slow and deep and full of dark heat. When he pulled back, his eyes were intense. Then let's finish this. Together. The last Saturday of the month came cold and clear. Dmitry Volkov's convoy left Brighton Beach at 9:47 a.m., 3 black Escalades, moving in formation toward the prison where his brother was held. Minsik's team was waiting. Maya watched from a surveillance van 2 miles away, screens showing multiple camera angles. She wore a tactical vest and carried weapons, but she wouldn't be on the ground for this one. Too dangerous. Too exposed. But she'd planned every detail. Target approaching checkpoint, Jean reported. He was positioned on an overpass, sniper rifle trained on the highway below. 60 seconds. On screen, Maya watched as a garbage truck pulled across 2 lanes, manufactured breakdown that looked perfectly natural. The convoy slowed. Stopped. Now, Minsik said. His team moved from 3 directions. Precision assault, overwhelming force applied in seconds. Gunfire erupted. Volkov's bodyguards returned fire, but they were outgunned and outmaneuvered. 47 seconds. That's how long it took. Then silence. Target eliminated, Minsik confirmed. His voice was steady. Professional. All hostiles down. We're moving. They disappeared before police arrived. Professional. Clean. No evidence left behind except bodies and ballistics that would confuse investigators for months. Maya watched it all happen from the safety of the surveillance van, heart hammering, knowing she'd just helped kill someone. Not in self-defense this time. Not in the heat of combat. This was premeditated murder. Assassination. And she felt nothing except satisfaction that the plan had worked. Minsik climbed into the van 15 minutes later, blood on his jacket, eyes bright with adrenaline. It's done, he said. Volkov is dead. His organization is headless. K-Town is ours. Maya should say something. Should acknowledge what they'd just done. Instead, she kissed him. Hard and desperate and full of triumph. When they broke apart, he was smiling. How do you feel? Powerful, Maya said. Not alive this time. Not satisfied. Powerful. Because that's what she'd become. 6 months later. The private dining room at Baekdu smelled like expensive whiskey and old violence. Maya sat at the head of the table, the same table where she'd met Kang Minsik for the first time, nervous and desperate and carrying her father's gun. She wasn't that woman anymore. Now she wore a dress that cost more than her old apartment, Tom Ford silk, midnight black, with Louboutin heels that added 3 dangerous inches. Her hair was loose, styled professionally. Diamond earrings glittered, a gift from Minsik after the Volkov operation succeeded. She looked like money and power and barely contained violence. She looked like she belonged here. Across from her sat Sarah Mitchell's replacement as senior ADA, a man named Richard Park who was already on Minseek's payroll. Next to him, a federal judge, 2 city council members, a police captain, all of them corrupt, all of them useful. Ms. Kang has done excellent work restructuring our financial operations, Sujin was saying. She sat to Maya's right, tablet in hand. Revenue is up 30%. Legal exposure is down significantly. We've successfully integrated the Volkov territories with minimal resistance. Impressive, the judge said, looking at Maya with barely concealed interest. I heard you used to be ADA. I was. Before I understood how the system actually worked. Maya's smile was sharp. Now I work for people who are honest about their dishonesty. The table laughed, comfortable, knowing. Maya sipped her whiskey, Hibiki 30, the expensive brand Minseek had introduced her to. It tasted like success and corruption and new beginnings. What about Thomas Chin? Richard Park asked. His trial is next month. He'll be convicted, Maya said confidently. David Park's testimony is damning. Sarah Mitchell's cooperation is comprehensive. The evidence is overwhelming. She paused. I'll be attending the trial. Front row. I want him to see me. Closure? The judge asked. Victory. Minseek entered then, and the room's energy shifted. He commanded attention effortlessly, 6'3" of controlled power in an impeccable suit. He crossed directly to Maya, leaning down to kiss her cheek. The gesture was territorial. Possessive. A statement to everyone watching, she's mine. Maya didn't mind. She was his. Just like he was hers. They were monsters together. Apologies for the delay, Minseek said, sitting at the opposite head of the table. Shall we continue? The meeting went on for another hour. Discussions of territory, operations, problems, and solutions. Maya contributed frequently suggestions, strategies, connections she could still exploit from her old life. She was good at this. Maybe she'd always been good at this. Finally, the guests left. Only Maya, Minseek, Sujin, and Jean remained. That went well, Sujin observed. They respect you now. Fear you a little. That's ideal. I don't want fear, Maya said. I want results. You'll get both. Minseek stood, offering his hand. Walk with me. They went up to the penthouse. The space was familiar now. Maya had been living here for 4 months. Her clothes in his closet. Her books on his shelves. Her weapons in his safe. Their life. Together. Minseek poured them both whiskey and led her to the windows overlooking K-Town. The neighborhood spread below them, glittering with lights and life and commerce, much of it connected to their organization. 6 months ago, you walked into this restaurant with nothing, Minseek said. No career. No money. No power. Just rage and intelligence and a willingness to burn everything down. I remember. And now look at you. Senior consultant to my organization. Architect of our biggest victories. Partner in every sense of the word. He turned to face her. You've become everything I knew you could be. A criminal. A queen. His eyes were intense. My queen. Maya looked down at the city. At the empire they were building together. At the life she'd created from the ashes of her old one. Do you regret it? Minseek asked quietly. Any of it? She thought about Thomas Chin, awaiting trial. About Sarah Mitchell, living in witness protection. About the people she'd killed. The lines she'd crossed. The woman she used to be. No, Maya said. I don't regret anything. Not even becoming a monster? She turned to face him, setting down her whiskey. I'm not a monster. I'm just someone who stopped pretending the world was fair. He pulled her close, foreheads touching. Then we're perfect for each other. They were. In some twisted, broken way, they were perfect. Maya had lost everything: career, reputation, belief in justice. But she'd gained something else. Power. Control. A partnership with someone who understood what monsters looked like because he'd always been one. She'd become the thing she used to prosecute. And she'd never been happier. "I love you," Minsik said. The first time he'd said it. The words hung in the air between them, dangerous and true. Maya should hesitate. Should recognize the toxicity. Should understand that their relationship was built on violence and corruption and mutual darkness. Instead, she kissed him. Deep and certain and without reservation. "I love you too," she said. Because she did. In whatever broken way she was still capable of love, she did. They were monsters together. And the world would burn before they let anyone tear that apart. Maya Kang had walked into Kang Min-sik's world as a desperate woman with nothing left to lose. A disgraced prosecutor. A betrayed wife. A victim of the system she'd devoted her life to. She'd stayed as a choice. As a partner. An equal. A queen in her own right. She'd stopped following rules and started making them. She'd stopped trusting systems and started building her own. She'd stopped being prey and become a predator. And when Thomas Chen's trial finally came, when she sat in that courtroom and watched him squirm under cross-examination, watched the evidence destroy him piece by piece, watched him receive a 20-year sentence for the crimes she'd helped expose, Maya didn't feel satisfaction or closure or justice. She felt powerful. Because she'd done this. She'd taken everything from the man who'd taken everything from her. And she'd done it using the very system that had betrayed her. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Maya ignored them all, walking to the black Mercedes where Min-sik waited. "How do you feel?" he asked as she slid into the back seat. Maya looked back at the courthouse. At the institution that had chewed her up and spit her out. At the world that had tried to break her. "I feel like winning," she said. "Good. Because we're just getting started." They drove away from the courthouse, from Maya's old life, from everything she used to be. Toward the empire they were building together. Toward the darkness they'd embraced. Toward the future where Maya Kang didn't take orders anymore. She gave them. If you made it this far, my fierce hearts, drop a comment telling me, would you sacrifice your soul for revenge against the people who destroyed you? Would you become the monster to survive the nightmare? Hit subscribe for more stories where revenge is served cold, power is taken not given, and love blooms in the darkest places. Until next time, stay dangerous. Stay powerful. Stay absolutely unapologetic about who you've had to become to survive. This is Revenge Café, where we believe the best revenge isn't moving on, it's taking everything they have and making them watch.